All right, guys, what up? Welcome to the next episode of the Cymatics Show. I'm very excited because we have WhatSoNot in the building. How's it going, man?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm pumped. Like I said, I think this is going to be one of the best episodes. Just guessing off of our little brunch interaction, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I was actually trying not to talk to you at brunch because I'm like, okay, he's talking about cool shit here. Surfing, sharks, touring cities, so.
Can't help myself.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, for those of you guys who don't know, which the very few of you out there who don't know WhatSoNot, his project, he's somebody who's last year, you said you toured, you played 150 shows in 42 cities.
42 countries.
42 countries, yeah. I mean, that's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
You've had the project since 2010, been crushing it, collabs with everybody from Skrillex, R.L. Grime, Slumberjack, Toto, Daniel Johns, San Holo, playing festivals like EDC Vegas, Coachella, Lollapalooza. So, I mean, pretty much, a lot of you guys are out there trying to do the whole touring thing. And this is like probably the one podcast that you should religiously listen to because he's been there, done that, and has been not only doing it, but dominating the space. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. You don't have to.
I'll take all of that.
I've been trying to do better intros because I realized that so for example, there's a lot of like hip hop guys that watch or maybe some random genres who might not know. And I'm like, if they're listening to a conversation, they're probably like halfway into it, like, wait, who is this guy? So I like to try and give.
No, that's great. I love intros. How you're talking about touring as well, because it goes through so many waves across your career. Like you'll have even the basics of it. You'll have an album year, and then you'll have a not album year, and then one's on cycle, one's off cycle, and then you have to play differently. When you're on and off cycle, like you're coming out and you're representing a certain piece of art that you've created. And then once you come towards the end of that cycle, it's like, okay, cool. Well, everyone's not right into this right now. I need to be more into some new kids that are coming up that are putting stuff out this year. I need to be more into the way sound's developing this year, whether prime example, like Afrobeat or reggaeton's coming in. It's like, oh, cool. I'm going to start infusing that a bit into my sets. And it's like, this isn't my time. This is like the time of the world's music. And I want to understand where that's at and start putting that into my sets and start seeing where I want to go next for my next art project.
Do you say you learn a lot about where you're going to take your project or maybe get inspiration during that period of off, like not your album year?
100%. Yeah. The album year is you build everything for, my album I was building for 4 years in the background, but then I really took some time off to get into the, sink my teeth into it. And it's not just music either. It's you got to build a stage concept. You've got to have, a good team of people helping you build your lights, your video, show visuals, all of that. And then you've got to decide how that all ties together. You can't just hey, dude who does visuals, make me some visuals for some songs. It's got to be this is the vision, this is the idea, this is the narrative behind it, this is how it all ties into this song, and then even structure your set based on the progression of how you want the mood and the feeling of everything to travel.
Yeah, no, that's super, super interesting. It's that I think that's why, I've seen certain artists, for example, that I'm really big fans of, but I'll see them at a festival, and I don't feel like I'm getting their product as much as for example, they're doing an album tour, their tour where they bring all their setup and have it planned. It's just a completely different experience.
Yeah, excuse me, I hope I'm not coughing this whole interview.
Dude, everybody's sick, man. Yeah, Busy Works Beats episode, I was sick as fuck. So
I'd never get sick. And there's this flu thing that's just been sweeping across America.
That's crazy that you said up in Canada too.
Yeah,
and shit.
I've had friends from East Canada, East Coast America, West Coast America, Middle America. Everyone's got the same cough.
Yeah, dude. It swung through the office and we were making jokes about it. But
what was the question?
What the fuck was the question?
It was something about. Festivals compared to...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's totally right, because, you got to think about when you do your own show, it's all at your own device, how you set it up, to some degree, how long your set is, what time you start, who's on the lineup, what the feeling is, what the mood is. You can really curate the whole thing to a great degree. And you have a lot more ability, usually you're in a bus with a truck and trailers and you're carrying all your own production. You can build everything, however much budget you have to do so. And your stage can really be your own world. When you're at a festival, you're really at the mercy of whatever else was booked, whether you are higher up on the rankings of headliners or lower down as to how much you can say you want to do and how much the festival will let you do. And then of course also like these multi-genre festivals, you're competing against people doing completely different music. And particularly if you end up on a main stage, there might be like Travis Scott, Rico Nasty, someone like me, someone like R.L. Grime, and then someone like Anderson .Paak or like SZA, and it's just totally different styles of music. So you have to appropriate your set in a way that hopefully you can grab some people that weren't familiar with you and pull them in. Hopefully there's not like the front 6 rows of like Bass Nectar fans like, I'm only here for Bass Nectar, like just arms crossed until he starts. You know, there's all kinds of things you have to deal with, and you have to really just like look at your crowd, look at your audience, and kind of just like tease in a few different parts of different songs and see what's getting people reacting, see whether they're like, oh wow, they're really into this like SoundCloud rap. I'm going to like play a few edits I know I've got in the bag of this, or oh wow, they're really into this rhythm. And particularly when you go over to Europe and countries that are non-English first speaking, you have to find a common ground that isn't language, because you can't just play a big hit song because they might just not know the lyrics, and then it has absolutely no impact on them, you know?
Yeah.
So then it's got to be about rhythm, and it's got to be about energy, and it's got to be about what type of records you're playing and how they're vibrating people and how they're pushing people to dance and move.
No, that's awesome. Do you often have to pivot on stage to where like you're going, like the one set you played in another city might be crushing, you're like, wait a minute, these people are like...
Oh, totally. Like every city is different. Even in America, like I remember one standout moment, like right on this topic, is I did this back-to-back after a Mad Eastern Block Party, and it was me, Diplo, and R.L. Grime. And it was in San Francisco. And Wes was playing all of these like older rap songs, and I'd literally never heard any of the songs in my entire life. I didn't know any of the lyrics. I didn't know any of the artists. And every single person in that room was chanting every single word to every song. And I was just like, damn, there's just this whole culture that exists in this city that I was never privy to growing up where I grew up. Like, I just never even heard these songs ever. And every single kid grew up on this. And it's like that in every city, in every country.
Every city has its own little thing.
Yeah.
I always bring it up with certain artists who are playing here about the Atlanta ATL Ho chants.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's funny, because like, yeah, because it's only here. Like, it doesn't matter if you're at a chill concert or what, just out of nowhere, just ATL Ho. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's getting hyped up. You'll probably get that tonight, man, for sure.
Dope. Thanks, Atlanta. I love you.
Yeah, thanks, Atlanta. I haven't been to that new venue, but I'm actually kind of interested to see how
You
it
coming
plays.
tonight?
I might.
You coming tonight?
Should I come tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll come check it out, dude. I'm kind of like an old man, you know, like go to sleep at like 9, wake
None
up
of us
at.
are old. Old is a frame of mind, you know?
I got an old frame of mind. I'm an old man frame of mind. I just wake up super early.
I heard you talking out there. You don't have, you're like, we'll get this new way of doing this and this and this. And I've just thought of this idea. You are on the tip. You are not old.
All right.
We are young.
Appreciate
hot.
that. We got to get you on that text message game, though. That's going to be hot.
Let's do it.
Son's doing some cool shit with text message. You see what they did with that billboard?
No.
Oh, you didn't see that,
no, what
dude?
Did he do? He did like a billboard.
Yeah, Booty was actually one of the first people to kind of put me like one of the original inspirations for like the texting idea. Then I kept hearing about like another thing. I was like, oh, this texting's really starting to pick up. But yeah, they did a Lost Lately billboard where for Son it was like, find Son, text this if you've seen Son or something like that. But they collected a fuck ton of phone numbers, right?
Interesting.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do text for free pack. You know how many people?
Oh, wow. Because
it's easier for the influencer instead of saying link in bio, blah, blah, like, hey, we have a secret pack coming out, text for whatever. You might say, like, I got a couple songs I've been saving up. They're actually unreleased, but if you guys want to hear them, text this number.
I know so many people are like, where is this link in bio? They don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
I always see this thing. What is it? I actually want to check the link this time.
And plus, if you like evoke it in a certain way, like especially for you, like people like opting into like unreleased songs and stuff. Yeah, feel free to grab some water. We got the waters on deck. Cough drops.
America flu.
America flu, taking you down. But yeah, that text thing is definitely something that's really going to be popping, I think. Especially because like, dude. Okay, so did you deal with the Facebook fan page death bad? Like, how was your transition? Because okay, so SoundCloud. You remember SoundCloud when it's popping, doing great, and then slowly starts declining a bit. Same thing for Facebook.
They all go through waves. And I mean, SoundCloud was kind of like, I mean, you know the backstory of that, right? How it was like bombed out.
No, I don't. I just know it fucking tanked.
I don't know how much I should go into it, but it was something like, it was a place that certain labels didn't like because it had a lot of attention, it had a lot of power, and you couldn't make money off it. So people didn't want that to keep being the thing. They wanted to find something that made money for everyone. So
they started
to
attacking
other
it?
streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying they got attacked.
Some shit went down.
Some shit went down. He knows some shit. He knows some shit. He's scared because all of a sudden, WhatSoNot, Spotify, SoundCloud just goes down. We're like, what happened? Did he say something? All your socials go down. Warner took you down on the back end.
There's always crazy shit going down.
Yeah.
Always.
I'm sure, man.
Yeah.
That. I mean, dude, I was telling Drew, I was like, you know, when SoundCloud was about to go out of business and then they had like raise around or do all that shit. I was like, dude, I'd much rather relax and like having just a healthy, like smaller business because we're not like a SoundCloud or nothing, you know, but like to deal with that amount of stress, you know what I'm saying? Waking up like, dude, all these people. And I was just like, I would not want to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know? Dope. Well, dude, you want to maybe get back into, I think getting into some of the roots, man, because, you know, you got started, picking up a lot of steam. I think your project has evolved a lot. Like it's not a project that sounds the same as it evolved, you know, because you've gone through a lot of different sounds. You want to talk about kind of like the starting of WhatSoNot and maybe some key stuff along the way and how you got to this point?
So at first it was kind of like, where to start with this? So I was DJing in Australia from like 2007, and the scene there was amazing. We had bands like Midnight Juggernauts, Cut Copy, Vanshee. They had this thing called Modular Records. The Claxons were huge. Justice just kicked off. Gossip, Mastercraft, Block Party. All of that stuff was really big in Australia. Like A-Track and Diplo were pretty big there. And then even like Bonderol. It was just this mesh of like French electro, ballet funk, Jersey club, and like American sort of Philly club and Baltimore and stuff like that. And then the Australian kind of like synth pop band sound, all just mashed together.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of like the Australian
and
type.
I can't forget the German guys. There was like DIM, Boys Noise. Actually, Boys Noise put out the Oi 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 record, I think, just before I started DJing. And that was such a pinnacle, like, he did like techno, very noisy, like the French guys. In like, from my understanding, one of the first people to do it like that. It was really wild. And it was this whole new energy. It was like this punk rock energy in music. And it was like, I was a rock guy. I was like playing in bands and stuff. And I didn't really like dance music at all. And then I heard all this stuff and I was like, whoa, this is everything I love about rock, but taken to this sonic space that I didn't even know existed. And I got started in the scene when that was all happening. And it was like such a beautiful time for music. And then maybe 2 or 3 years later, it kind of all tapered off. Disco house kind of came up. What was that? Dutch house came in. And then everything kind of went like mainstream big room electro. And I wasn't that into that and was just really searching for something new. And I got tired of searching. I was like, I'm just going to make it. I can hear these ideas. I know what I like. And then I started working with Harley and he produced. And then I was like just starting doing bootlegs, edits, things like that. And then we got together and we just started working probably like 2 or 3 days a week.
Did you guys just happen to live near each other? Or?
Yeah, he lived like 3 suburbs away. And like I was one of the few DJs in the whole like area where we lived because people didn't DJ back then. It was like just after CDJs came in, like, so because you couldn't afford to DJ unless you were like older because you had to buy the record, the vinyl.
Oh, you had to buy all of them.
You had to buy the vinyl to be able to go and play it at a club. So unless you were older and had money.
Oh, I heard people used to have like crates they would bring to like an event.
So like you couldn't DJ if you were a kid because you didn't have like thousands of dollars to go and buy a single song for like $20 so you could play it at a show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So as soon as CDJs came in, it started to change. More people started being able to DJ. And then, the whole idea was like this sort of tribally influenced, more organic sounds, bent vocals, and then like these wonky synths. That was the idea. And it started out, WhatSoNot was actually kind of more like house music based, like wonky house. And then it went into more electronica. And then had more of a trap influence and future bass. And all the influences were like Hudson Mohawk, Rusty, Flying Lotus, Chrome Sparks, like really early Hero Bust.
Sam, was he pumping music that way back then? I didn't even know about him until later.
Dude, he had this song called Snail Gate. Have you ever heard Snail Gate? Oh my God. All the stuff he was doing back then was so crazy.
Really? I gotta check it out.
Yeah. And it was dope. It was like, you just listen to shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is so cool. This is so exciting. I'm going to make something that's sort of like that, but then sort of like this other thing and sort of like this thing. And then you put it on SoundCloud like a week later. And then you get all these comments from other artists like, oh, this is dope. And then you go and check their stuff. And you're like, oh, they're doing this thing. This is tight. And it was like this big community of just everyone like bigging each other up, everyone egging each other on to do something more interesting, more daring, more challenging. And I think that is, excuse me. I think that's one of the sad things about the moment is it's that freedom has been taken away. Everything needs to be planned much further ahead. Like if you want to get your record, how do I put this? If you want to get your record prioritized, you have to have like a 2-month advance notice of when you're submitting it. It's not this like instant just up and then it's out.
SoundCloud's not the same place it used to be.
No.
Even, I felt like the first downfall is when they actually changed the mobile app. Do you remember when there was still comments and stuff and it still felt like you were like...
Yeah.
And then they changed that and it kind of felt like a different app. And then that's
I think I was almost out of it before then. Like we saw what was going to happen and we were like trying to shift to other things. But yeah, dude, I used to love SoundCloud. It was dope. It was interactive.
Yeah. No, definitely. What was the first song that you would say like really put you on the map?
So we did the first WhatSoNot EP, and we got like mad feedback from Switch, who used to be part of Major Lazer, from...
What was the one with the duck scent? I forget the name.
The Quack.
Yeah, dude, that I feel like that for me, that was like the first one I was like, oh shit, what is this sound? I remember me and Drew just sitting there in massive, like, okay, how can you know?
That was kind of the thing. We did this first EP, and like, it's like, Switch, Boys Noise, Sinden, a bunch of all these other really amazing producers that I loved at that time, all gave it mad feedback and then got no shows. Like, didn't get any bookings. And I was like, damn, how do you do this music thing? Like, we spent all this time, like, putting this thing together. It's this whole new sound. All the cool dudes seem to love it, but this isn't converting into anything. Like,
a career.
How do we do this? And then, luckily from that music, we got offered to do this remix for this group called Banshee, which is a really big band in Australia. And then that became, like, an anthem that everyone's playing in the clubs. It was like a cool, interesting house version of a band song that was really popular on the radio over there. And I was like, oh, you got to like remix an act that everybody already knows, but just with your sound. And then that helps you get eyes on everything that you are doing. And then the next thing, we just bootlegged a Major Lazer track and then ended up getting in touch with Major Lazer's manager and they wanted to officially release it on vinyl. And then that got played on the radio a bunch in Australia as well. And then everything just started to really
just keep picking up momentum.
Yeah. And then we just started to put out originals and then people were already paying attention. And then,
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you guys picked up some crazy speed. And I felt like, honestly, I'm even impressed that you've kept it till this point because a lot of people like dropped off. I swear, like there was that period of like the 2012, 11, 13 era where a lot of people were blown up, and then like there was this new wave that kind of came in. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like not everybody made it through that because there's a lot of artists I look back on. Sometimes I go to their Instagram. I'm like, dude, what happened to this guy? This person was huge. You know?
Yeah.
Like back in the day.
Yeah, I know personally, I made a lot of choices myself. You could sort of see the writing on the wall of where it was going. And if people, a lot of people get into this industry and they indulge, they lavish in the superficial and the success. And it's like, if you do that, everything can just bottom out underneath you and you won't even know it's coming. So I like went through periods like I didn't drink for 3 years. Every time everyone was hanging out and partying, I'm like there with my laptop, just like straight up producing, just finishing edits, working for other people, working for myself, working on WhatSoNot, whatever it might be. Just like, getting my like 10,000 hours in. There's one point in my career where I stopped using any plugins except for like Silent and Simplant. And I was just using Ableton stock and being like, okay, how can you use the delay in an interesting way? How far can you push the saturation? What does every little component of this device do? Like just going back to the very fundamentals and really like honing my knowledge of how they all work. And as well as that, like, you could see people make clear choices of simple things. Like, people would bring a photographer on tour with them so that they looked good on the internet. If you have your own photographer, you can curate moments. You can be like, oh, I'm going to play this one song, and then I'm going to tell everyone to throw their arms up and just get the photo then, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of that, I got one guy that traveled with me who ran my lights and video. Because I was like, rather than just trying to look good online, I'm going to make sure my show looks good the whole show. So people come to the show and they're in this WhatSoNot world. They're experiencing it the whole show, and it feels different.
Dude, people remember that shit. Like if you go to a show, you know, and you had a good experience. A lot of times, a friend will bring another friend who has no fucking idea who you are. Like, hey, I'm going to this WhatSoNot show. I'm going to this show. You should come with me. And all of a sudden, they don't even know. Like, they don't even know any of the music or anything, but they have such a good time at that event. Yeah. They then go look you up, go find the shit. Yeah, and I think that's very smart. You know,
there's also other points where I was like, everyone was playing the same sets. Everyone was playing the same big hits. And I was like, I'm just going to play my music. I'm just going to build music that I really love, that I know will work at the shows. And I'm just going to play that. And it's might not like be as constantly hyped with like the cliche kind of moments as everybody else, but it's going to feel different. And I think that's going to hold more with people than it being very interchangeable. Because it kind of got to the point where you could put any DJ in the scene up and they're kind of playing the same set.
Dude, we saw that at Tomorrowland 2012 when it first came to Georgia. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, you went there. I can't tell you how many times I heard Animals. Every single stage. It doesn't matter who I was listening to. Animals would play. And I mean, I'm like, okay. And then like the next year we came, I think it was Tremor. But I'm like, what's the next song that I'm about to, because we hear the same shit everywhere. Remember when everybody was playing the DJ Snake Bird? That was the Bird song? It was one year. Bird Machine. You just heard Bird Machine everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or like stuff like that, which, you know, I don't think there's anything problem making those records. But then, yeah, you're right. Standing out, like playing your own sets and stuff. I definitely think it's huge.
But then I had to go through other phases as well. Like that worked for me when, you know, bass music and future bass was really at the foreground of like popular music, at least in the underground scenes. And then when you go through a phase like, excuse me.
No, it's cool, man. Like, you know, what's funny is that I literally was dying last week. Yeah. It's luckily that's why I let the other person talk. I'm like, all right, I get to sit back here.
So, you know, the last few years have been more of a phase where like rap music has really come to the foreground again, and particular SoundCloud rap.
Dude, yes.
And it's kind of, I did a song with Diablo and he kind of told me the history of like how that came up. And when he was explaining it to me, I was like, oh yeah, this is totally how it happens. It's like a bunch of kids, like, cause this happened to us in Australia. There's a bunch of kids all around the country who started creating this sound that was a little bit influence of this, a little bit like that, but kind of not done yet. Right. Uh-huh. And then you all feed off each other. You all push each other to like do it in a more interesting way. And then suddenly that's all they play in clubs. Suddenly that's all anyone's paying attention to. Suddenly that ends up on the radio. And then suddenly you're touring overseas with it. And that's kind of what happened, you know, with the SoundCloud rap. Yeah, well, it's like there are all these kids in like Florida just making this like in your face distorted punk rock kind of version of like, you know, rap music with these simple lyrics that were easy to like catch on.
Some of the beats are simple too.
Yeah.
They're not always the best sounding stuff or like at all. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes they like that grimy distortion that sometimes I feel like EDM guys are too perfect. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. With their production and all that. Sometimes rappers are like, fuck it, I'm going to throw up some shit.
I love that.
You even see it with their content, by the way, what they post. Like rappers do not give a fuck.
Oh, dude. And that's the other thing is like, man, they're going all in. They're living it. They've got covered in tattoos. They're bright, they're colorful, they're loud, they're funny. I mean, a lot of people that are really good on Twitter are also good rappers because it's just about these quick, snappy little remarks, you know, that are like super heady and super on with whatever trend.
Also like raw personality kind of just kicking through, like not holding back.
And it went from like, you know, the nerdy kid in their bedroom becoming a superstar, which was like the phase, to like these crazy wild kids.
Wild.
Like covered in tats, covered in color, whatever, like anime characters.
Are you getting face tats?
Maybe. Maybe for real.
You got the crazy hair going on a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your? Don't you dye your hair a lot?
Yeah.
What's the color looking like?
Faded peach.
Faded peach.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Dude, hip hop is exploding our business right now.
Really?
Because we did a pretty good job, like religiously, like building products for EDM, building a community. And then like, we kind of started to see this hip hop thing blowing up, and Drew's roots actually before his EDM stuff, he was a beat producer for years.
Yeah.
And then I got him into more of the EDM stuff, and honestly, listen to a lot of stuff like you guys' music. We started making a bunch of that type of shit, and we're like, okay, cool. We're going to be these touring guys,
Yeah.
We, and made music for years, but then like now we've been diving back into it just because it's so popping right now. But I think it's just in a really interesting space. But like, it's crazy because I hit up people in EDM, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I use you guys stuff or whatever, and we link up pretty easy. Hip hop. Dude, hip hop guys are so big, they don't even know fucking what EDM is sometimes. Like, you ask a big rapper, like, what dubstep is, he's like, what the fuck is that? You know what I'm saying? Or like, it's just crazy because all EDM guys still know Drake and obviously all those people. Yeah. But like, the size we're starting to realize how big it is insane. Yeah. And it's just exploding our business right now with beat producers and stuff. And they think way differently than EDM guys, which is interesting. Because I come from a background of people like even like something as simple as like melody loops. EDM, they obviously want to more curate their own types of sounds and stuff, but hip hop people are looking for loops and stuff to use, and it's just different, like, different cultures.
Well, typically rap beats is so much simpler. It's like rap music came from usually sampling an old record and then flipping the drums and putting this bop on it that people could rap to. Yeah. And it was loop based. And I suppose house music to some degree is loop based as well. But then once people started like creating more cinematic music and orchestrating all their own melodies and everything, it got a little more dense and complex. You think about acts like Anderson .Paak with the Free Nationals and stuff like that, though. It's all like beautifully orchestrated music. Yeah. And a lot more detailed.
For sure. Yeah. So actually going into it, I think something that you have a crazy catalog of collabs. You're like Collab City. Yeah. In terms of who you got in the studio with. Everybody's Skrillex, Harold Grimes, Han Holo, and all that stuff. You want to talk a little bit about maybe some collabs or studio sessions that really like, damn, this guy's good or this girl's amazing or whatever it may be that kind of changed the way you thought about production. Yeah. And I got a couple other questions I want to kind of dive deeper into that.
Yeah. Honestly, I just love working with people, particularly people who like have a great energy to them, and even if they don't, I will rarely turn down a session with someone if I have the time. I'll be like, yeah, cool, let's get in. Let's see what happens. Like, you work with these people sometimes, nothing to do with what you're doing. You don't even know their project or anything. And you get in and you're like, oh, wow, I just understand so much about my life, my work, my career from this conversation with you about how you're looking at your particular project, how you're looking at approaching this sound design, how you're looking at, any aspect of music or art. And I think you really get that when you work with other people. And it's something you can't get when you sit at home by yourself, unless you're just trolling through like YouTube tutorials on how to make this particular sound or whatever. But I don't think it's really about that. I think it's more about like connecting with other people. Music is something to be shared. Music is something to create together. I started in rock bands, and it was always like jamming with your friends. You might not even be motivated to like get up out of bed, but you're like, oh, all my friends are coming over. Like, we're gonna have a jam. It's gonna be fun. Let's get up. It's like motivation. Yeah. It's like, and often when you're producing, I'm sure plenty of people get this. You hit brick walls. You make something like, oh, I'm on such a vibe right here. This is great. I love this, and then it just stops. And if you just happen to have someone in the room, even if they're like, dude, even if they're a photographer, even if they're whatever, they might just say, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, what about this? Like, kind of throw something like this on and you're like, oh shit, yeah.
Dude, I do that with my employees all the time. Right. Cause like, dude, I sometimes I get bored if I'm just sitting there by myself, like making stuff. But cause you see the reaction. So for somebody who's not that good at music or maybe doesn't know production or anything, they see you do something, they're like, whoa. Yeah. Like the second you put some drums on a melody or something, they're like, damn, like they see it coming together. And sometimes their excitement feeds me. I'm like, okay, yeah, let me keep going here, show you some cool stuff. And
I think music's all about energy, man. Yeah. That's why I like working with people, because like, you just come up with something you would have never done yourself. And then you carry that with you forever. And then you know how to do that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, 100%.
And by working with all these different people, you just start to, like, I spent a month last year just traveling around Europe, like kind of backpacking, staying on couches, crashing with people, just working in their studios. I worked with Signal, Noisia, Petit Biscuit, San Holo, Jammer from the UK, my buddy AA. And like just all different walks of life, different countries. Oh, and Losco, Andy Explorer, you know him from Belgium.
I'm sure all these sessions are completely different too.
Yeah, they are. They're all so different.
Yeah.
And they all come out different, and like you just gain so much understanding. Like I remember, particularly with the Noisy guys, I went in their studio for the first time. You heard about their studios that they built, right? So, okay, if my memory serves me correct, there was this Belgium guy that worked for the government in sound acoustics. So when they built a huge bridge or something, he would work out the best way to construct it and the sound you would get from cars reaching out into different valleys and like affecting nearby neighborhoods, nature, whatever it might be.
I never even thought about that. That's an important factor.
He's like a very high level sort of dude. And as a passion project, he agreed to build Noisia these studios. And he built these incredible 3 studios, sort of one facing here, one facing here, and one facing here in this warehouse complex. And I remember walking into the room in one of the studios and just putting on a record and being the first time like, oh, this is what music truly sounds like.
It was probably dead when you walked in, right?
Yeah, it's like it was the first time I was like, I'm hearing music in its purest form for the first time ever. And ever since I went in and heard it in that room with everything just so perfectly flat and clear, I've been able to like do everything so much better. Like I'm just wearing my HD25 headphones and I know exactly what to push, what not to push, where's bursting, where isn't. Because of that one time I went in there.
That sounds like an enlightenment moment. Any producer walks in this room is instantly like enlightened to the next level.
I just walked into that room and I'm like, oh shit, I know true zero for the first time.
That's some crazy shit.
Yeah. And even like how they would talk about music, like Ty's in particular, like I'm really excited about Simplant and I'm like, he didn't have it. And I was talking to him about it and I still really love it. But he was like, you know, for me, he's like, I like to build my sounds and know exactly what I'm putting into it. Whereas this is interesting randomness, you know? So like, he's like, I love that maybe as one element. And I've sort of taken that on board as well, as like using that as one particular element that has a lot of randomness to it, but then everything else is quite pure and curated. And what that does, it allows for loudness and it allows for you to really bring everything up without everything starting to, the fringes of it clashing with each other and overlapping and cluttering too much.
Yeah, I think I even lean more on the randomness side because a lot of the stuff I do, I take an acapella and I slice it up, and essentially, I'm not like thinking of a melody in my head. I'm just looking. I'm like, okay, let me keep trying out new stuff. Oh, okay, cool. That's not, it's more random, like generating almost.
I mean, I even think about creativity as like it's not even us doing it. Like, really, all we do is as musicians and as artists is try and get our mind into a space where everything freely flows. It just flows straight through us. It's like jazz musicians talk about being in the pocket, they're just playing. They've never done that before. They've never done that riff. And then suddenly they just do this thing and they're like, oh my God, that was so beautiful, And I feel like that's what we do. We just try and open this channel to like another realm and it just flows out. It's like, I don't traditionally play keys. I played drums when I was younger. And then I'll be on a synth and I'm like playing this melody. I'm like, I literally don't know how to play this melody. Yeah. And I just played this melody. Like that can't have been from me. It's just like flowing through me because I managed to get myself into that perfect state where I'm just on this wave and it's just going and going and going. And I call it like flying. Like you're in the session and you're just flying. Like everything you're doing just seems to be perfect. You're just so excited and then that's feeding on top of itself and it just grows in this big ball of energy and then suddenly you get to the end and you're like, wow, I just did like, I just did pretty much this whole track in this one moment. Yeah. And it's so close to perfect. Like I barely have to do anything else to it.
Dude, flow states are kind of a crazy thing because they happen in a lot more than just music too. Like athletes go through like flow state, gamers especially, like those high pressure like game tournaments for like $100,000 and they're sitting there like they get in these like states and musicians is definitely like that to where your flow state you're almost like 10 times more effective, and I try not to, it almost is like momentum a little bit. You ever get, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten in ruts with your music project and stuff, or even with Cymatics, like we'll hit walls for like a year and a half where we're just like nothing's working. keyboard, just grinding, like slamming our face. Cause there was just we're trying a lot of new shit,
Yeah.
And then recently we just had bumped into the right people and just caught this momentum. And now I'm like, we learned our lesson. We're like, let's not drop it.
Amazing.
Like keep this thing. We're in like a flow state right now. I'm sure you've had your project where it's like,
I've actually been really lucky. And one thing I'll just mention before I get onto that is one of the people I always found it really funny, Mr. Carmack. Sometimes he just wouldn't rock up to stuff. And but then he would like rock up in the last moment and just fucking kill it. And I remember he said, he was like, yeah, man, don't do it unless you're feeling it. If you're not feeling it, it's not going to be any good. Just get yourself into the headspace so that you are feeling it. And then everything you do will be magic.
I love that.
And I was like, you're totally right. Like, you don't need to sit there for 3 days and try and produce. Go and do something fun and exciting with your friends. Go and like see some really crazy movie. Go and like look up some things on Pinterest that are inspiring you visually. And then come back and sit down. And you'll make something amazing.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. I think it's also because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're not like if you're trying to do this like as a career for like years and years and years to come, it's not about getting big tomorrow. And I think so many newer producers, first off, you were talking about 10,000 hours, aren't even putting near that and expecting to go tour tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or expect their hit to take off. I'm like, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? You haven't even figured out mixing it. Like take a step back, put in the effort and then try and like make moves with it,
Yeah, I think, I mean, particularly when I talk about that thing Carmack was saying, we talked about this in the car just before. You have to put in the hours so that you have the expertise within you to then afford to take those days to inspire yourself. So you need the knowledge, you need the technical ability within you and at your grasp. And that's like just looking things up, working with other people, learning how to do all these different things. And then once you have that in you, then you can be like, all right, now I just need to get in my zone, right? I'm going to go and do this stuff that I know makes me happy. And I've been very lucky. I don't really think I've ever had a rut where I've been creative blocked.
Really?
Ever. Maybe only in the very early stages of my career where I didn't quite understand it, like the first year or something. But I realized early on, there's a lot of things you have to do for your mind and your body that stop that from ever happening. It's all up to you. It's all within you, know? It's like, you just have to get yourself into a space where it just happens. And then you just need to work out how to get yourself there as fast as possible each day. And then you'll have super productive days.
Dude, this is making me think about a lot of shit differently. I'm like, damn. That needs some more self-awareness. No, this is fucking awesome, man.
Like when I did my album, I'd already got myself to a point, technical ability, creativity, understanding of myself. But I knew I still had a lot. And we always have so much more we can do. So much more. And there's always so many things I want to improve. I know where I have really great strengths and I know where I have really big weaknesses. And so I like to try and accentuate my strengths in my work, but then in the background be working on those weaknesses so that they can all start to feed each other. And when I did my album, I kind of locked myself in a basement for 6 months of that year. And I only ate 10 different types of foods. And I would exercise every morning. I would eat one meal. I would work for 7 or 8 hours. I would eat one very quick meal and I work for another 6, 7 hours. So I was pulling anywhere from 11. We're going to have to edit out all my coughing. Oh my God, I'm sorry guys.
No, it's all good. There's going to be a drinking game.
Yeah, look, I got this cough, it's almost gone, but then when you're talking straight for
oh,
an
dude,
hour,
it's hard. Podcasting's hard. Not many people sit down for an hour and a half and talk, you know what I'm saying? And also, what is it? People don't expect how hard it is to keep going, you know?
I'm fine with the talking.
It's all good. We have they'll do funny shit. One time Drew burped through the whole podcast because his ass drank 3 beers. And the whole podcast, he just has to take these breaks to burp, and it's just me and him, 3 people you can kind of offload. But hey, real quick, I don't usually do this, Jordan. Yeah, we're still recording, right? He's spitting so much gold. I would just cry if we lost it. So I'm just going to do a midway recording check because, guys, I think this episode's that awesome. I'm like, I would be, we're good, right? All right.
You want me to start recording now or after?
motherfucker.
Funny guy.
Yeah, because I'm like, dude, I like this. So, dude, I don't think you're who I thought you were.
All right.
You know that?
Okay.
Because, I don't know, man. Just if you look at your shows, a little bit, I would say, definitely even just the way you dress, your music sounding crazy, you're going all over the place. You would think you're a little more like wild, might go party, go do some shit.
I'm wild. But I'm like, I've learned how to be wild.
But I mean, from what my take is, you sound pretty disciplined. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's...
You can be both.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think that the discipline and I would say like commitment to the craft is what got you to this point, you know?
Yeah.
I wasn't even sure, you know, because you just have like collabs all across the board, all this stuff. And I'm like, damn, this guy's fucking really going in to make this happen. And now, it makes a lot of sense because I think the level of commitment is like 10x the average producer, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's usually not luck. That's what I realize. As I meet more and more people, it's always like, okay.
There's no luck.
Yeah.
It's like even if you're like lucky a couple of times, it's just going to fall out from under you and later on. Like, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Shit, man. I feel like I like going into a lot of this production stuff. Let's see what we got here. So craziest. So you've toured probably more than anybody I've talked to, maybe. I mean, probably more than Sonny.
No more than Steve Aoki.
He's probably toured.
Steve Aoki tours the most out of anyone ever, I think.
That's crazy, though, man.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it's hard? Because I look at the tour life.
Yes, it's hard.
And
it's fucking...
Everybody I talk to in the music industry, it doesn't sound as glamorous as what people see on Instagram. It sounds like very like difficult. Like you're hustling, you're working out your lack of sleep and stuff.
Okay, so let me run you through a few scenarios. So when I did Lollapalooza America in Chicago last year, I did 5 days straight with 7 shows or maybe 8 shows. And I had 10 hours sleep in a bed total for those 5 days.
God damn.
And you have to be on stage. You got to be playing your drums in time. You got to be singing in tune. You got to be smiling in your interviews. You got to be charismatic. You got to be interesting. And then you have to nail all your sets. You have to be looking at every crowd and being like, is this working? Do I have to switch this up? How am I going to signal this to my bandmate out there that like we're just going to totally change this right now? You have to be on point with all your crew, your staff. You gotta be nice to everyone and friendly to everyone. Like, you gotta keep the energy high because everyone's tired. You know, like everyone can just, if someone gets put off, then everyone gets put off. It's a lot, and that's like 2 weekends and a midweek of work. Like and then you gotta be dealing with like your 60 staff that work for you around the world, and you gotta be producing and writing music. You gotta be doing edits for those shows that you're doing right up until you go on stage, fixing anything up, touching things up. You probably got to be turning in some records that have got to go out in 2 months' time. Then you've got like things like friends and family, just daily life stuff you got to deal with as well. That's like, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. And you have, I was talking to you about this today as well. I haven't had a home for 5 years. I just roam around the world. I'm on tour buses. I'm in Airbnbs. I got a couple of friends who let me crash at their places if I'm in certain continents. And that's it. And you have to find home within yourself. You have to find a few simple comforts that make you feel normal wherever you are, no matter if you've had no sleep and you're totally jet lagged and you're really confused. You got to get shit done every single day. And it's not the stuff that people see that really takes up the time, you know?
So what are those things for you? That's because you haven't had a home in 5 years. Like, dude, I can't imagine not having a place to go back and like, this is like my house. And so what are those things that I
love as well? I'm just like here coughing my lungs. Everyone's like, sounds like you need a home. You need to go to sleep, dude. I literally never get sick.
You need to relax.
I never get sick. And then I just had this stupid cough for like the last week. It's so annoying.
Yeah. So what are those things that kind of hold you down and keep you like grounded wherever you're going?
So it used to be coffee, avocado, eggs, and running. So I was a surfer growing up in Australia, loved the ocean, came over to America, suddenly got really depressed when I started touring. And I was like, why I feel so shitty? And it's because, I'm not exercising. I'm not like out in a peaceful spot away from technology. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I'm going to start running. So I started running. That helped a lot. And then I realized the routine of doing exercise and then eating a breakfast that was good for you, that had some sort of, common resemblance to what I might eat at home, and then drinking coffee tricked my brain into being like,
this is my routine.
I'm at home, it's 10 a.m., I feel great, time to get on with work. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. So it was just that simple. Eventually, it was that simple.
I saw your breakfast this morning. I was taking out. I was like, damn, all right, healthy food, Cool, because you can't sustain. I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, how do you sustain that, And you have to do things like pick healthy options.
Yeah.
For everybody wondering here, our squad, Cymatics squad, is just pigging out. He's over here, got his nice veggie omelet, avocado. I'm like, all right, maybe got to step my health game here.
Yeah, it's like, particularly in America, the food's pretty bad quality compared to a lot of places in the world.
Really?
The way the regulation here is very deregulated. So what they grow to feed the animals that you eat, it's like just a long list of
trash.
Bad.
I'm sure.
It's like if you looked into the corn regulation and corn syrup and everything that goes on.
And then how they're like feeding cows corn and stuff they're not supposed to or something like that. Yeah. And antibiotics, like they're all like
it's antibiotic what is it called? I've forgotten the damn word now. But modified foods that are not meant to be fed to animals, being fed to animals who are also given steroids and hormones and all kinds of things, usually through the food. And then they grow up really fast, really fat, and then you eat that. So it's like this whole step down of like, and then all the pesticides and all the what do they call them? Hormones and things that are used on the crops in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a long list of like a lot of junk going into what you're eating. So you got to be really careful about what you eat, and like try and like.
The producers are the unhealthiest motherfuckers, man. They'll sit in the room, eat ramen, and not get any exercise, and then start feeling depressed. I'm like, bro, get out, go play basketball, go, you know what I'm saying? Hit the gym for a little bit, get some exercise going.
Yeah, that doesn't last long. Like,
yeah.
That just, it makes you sluggish, and then you can't do stuff. And like, one of the most important things I've realized is you have to go and live life, and you have to go and have fun. You got to work so hard, and if you want to fit that in as well, you got to cut something out. So I just cut out the bullshit. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, prime example, I had to go to Europe just to do 3 shows like the other week. Mm-hmm. I got in one day early in Barcelona, and I was like, okay, cool. I can lay in my hotel bed, really jet lagged, feeling like shit, put a Netflix show on. Or since I was just in Nicaragua, I can just bring my bodyboard with me. And then as soon as I land in Barcelona, take a flight out to this island that I know has waves because there's this swell pattern I saw coming down from the north. And then I'm just going to go surfing in the Mediterranean for a day and do that for like 4 hours out in the sunshine, feeling freaking awesome, even though I've barely slept and I'm all jet lagged. Then I'm going to sleep like a baby that night, wake up, fly back to Barcelona, and then do my show. So you just make choices like that. And then suddenly like, oh, wow, I'm just so jacked on life and amped. And then, of course, the next day I wrote an amazing song because I'd just gone and done something that gave me, just this burst of energy and happiness.
Not being like hungover.
And then I've gone and done an amazing show that got me all amped on music. And then I'm like, wow, I'm just flowing right now. I'm ready, you know? And then it all just comes out.
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing. I think a lot of people need to do more of that lifestyle stuff. Do you purposely, because like, dude, you're doing so many shows at this point. I know your schedule's probably pretty tight. Do you purposely try to plan if you're in a certain city or a certain country to like spend an extra day there to go surf or something like that?
I usually don't have time for an extra day.
Damn.
So you need to make do with usually the day.
So before the show. Yeah. Like today, like coming up here to pop this real quick before you go down and play.
Exactly. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you didn't get much time to sit down, just have a tea and look at the clouds for the day or something.
No, you can do that too. There's always time.
You have to squeeze it in.
You'd be surprised how much time you have that you're wasting. So I have tried and I think done pretty well to forgo scrolling on my phone. And I think I got friends that use those apps now that tell you how long you're like looking at your phone.
Usage apps?
Yeah, there's a lot of people on their phones like 8 hours a day. That's 8 hours, man. You know how many things you can do in 8 hours? I could fly to another country and go surfing and write a song in 8 hours. And you sat there scrolling on your phone.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, 100%, man.
And it's like always squeezing a studio session. If I'm in a city, like I did my show in Denver. It was like the first time we were doing this whole new live show. My buddy Quiet Bison, he came to do the show there. I think it was his first ever show. And he was doing this We Can Be Friends remix for me. And he was like, we were rushing to get it out because we were about to go and cycle for another song. So like he just came to the hotel the next morning before I flew back to LA, and we just jammed on it, like trying to come up with a few ideas just to touch it up and finish it up. And like that's what you got to do, man. It's just like even if you're just meeting at a hotel with someone, just jamming on some ideas. And then like I got so excited from that, I learned a bunch of new techniques. He did as well. We just both came away from it like feeling awesome. We had a song done, and then I get back to LA, eat dinner, wake up, and then I'm just buzzing, and then I just make something for myself as well, like make a brand new song. I'm just so amped on it.
Yeah, no, that's fucking. I love that strategy, man. Yeah. It sounds like a sustainable strategy too, because it also keeps you like good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just see a lot of, I've had a lot of friends in the music industry. I'm sure you as well. Kind of get trapped in the party, portion of it, and get fucked up and stuff. And I mean, it's hard to keep going when you're getting fucked up every other night.
And I'm right here. I'm gonna defend partying, which might feel very strange, but I had a good friend kind of shake me out. I was being a bit stiff for a while, and it was good that I was like I've gone in a lot of waves over my life. I've had periods of my life where I've partied way too hard, done way too many crazy things, and then I've gone like totally sober for 3 years, and then I've delved back into it lightly, and then gone totally sober again. And then I think it's important to go through the waves. Like it's not like one is bad and one is good. It's like they're all important. And the most important thing is you're not abusing whatever is around you, or you're not taking for granted whatever is around you. And you need to go and live. You need to go and have fun. You need to go and, get caught up in some drama and those are the best songs, Yeah. It's like you can't just live in the party and then not like people go and live in the party and they just stay in the party. It's like, no. You got to go live in the party. And then you go and recluse and you capture what happened. And that's art.
Yeah. It's really more of a feeling than it is a specific idea.
You got to be in this wild moment, and then you got to capture it and turn it into a message, make something important out of it. Otherwise, you just wasted your time. I think that's the most important thing.
Do you think there's a lot of producers in our community out there, they're not doing it full time yet. They're almost, I would say 99% of them either go to school or have a job. And a lot of people complain about they don't have enough time to work on their projects, but you're making it. I want you to, what do you think about those people? You think they still have plenty of time and that shouldn't be an excuse?
You got plenty of time, dude. Yeah. I'm telling you, I worked a full-time job. I studied full-time, and I was DJing every weekend, staying up super late and producing. And it was fucking hard.
Yeah.
But I did it. And I did it till I was making like, I was just making $400 a week off DJing. And that was enough. I was like, this is enough. I can quit my day job. I had a little bit saved up for my day job, making $400 a week. And that didn't last long, but it didn't matter. Because it's like, I know this is my moment. I've got just enough. This can sustain me. I'll probably be like this for like 6 months. And then I'm going to have to work something else out. But that's enough. And the second I could... Oh my God.
No, it's cool. You can pop a cough drop in if you want to.
God, I might have to.
Yeah, no.
Ugh.
It's okay. We got a drinking game going on in the comments right now. Drink every time. Every time WhatSoNot coughs, sip a beer. Oh man.
Oh, that'd be wild. You gotta be hammered. You wouldn't even know what I'm saying. But yeah, so you just got to get it to a point, and even do it in bursts. Don't be like it's going to be one way or the other. Like work a job, save up some cash, get some sort of side hustle going that makes good money with least amount of time. For me, that was DJing. It was like maybe for someone it's graphic design. Maybe you're a good graphic designer and you can like pump out something in one day that makes you $200 or $300. you can do that, just do that 2 days a week and then spend 5 days a week on music, you know?
I was a mascot when I was doing music a lot.
You're a mascot?
Yeah, so I'd go to these like it was for like a hospital in Atlanta called Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So I was the mascot that showed up to events, right? And the reason I took that job is, and the reason I dropped out of school, but I just kept this one job is because I only had to work 2 days a week. I show up for 2 hours. They pay me like $100-something, and I'm like, sweet, I got enough for gas and food. And
That's it, man.
And I'm right back on it.
That's it. You got to hack the system. That's what young people have to do. They have to work out something. They have to work out something that makes decent money quickly without much effort or with using your specialty skills that you've managed to harness by that age so that you don't get into the grind and you don't get into just being a cog in the wheel. Like, you don't want to be sitting there on minimum wage doing something you hate that isn't developing you as a human.
Yeah, and then
that's not good for anyone.
And then your lifestyle getting to the point to where you have to work that job to support the house, apartment, stupid shit you bought.
Yeah.
No, I think that's
if you want to be a creative, and as well, man, you can try it out. If it doesn't work, that's fine. Like you can quit that job, really go for it for 6 months, and maybe it doesn't quite happen how you wanted it to. Maybe you go back to a job for 6 months, and then you can I'm going to try it again. I got a new way. I think I got maybe some people around me that are going to help manage me now, and an agent, or like I got this label opportunity. Damn, that was a hefty one.
They're getting worse.
They are getting worse. It's because I'm talking so much. So it's like, yo, dude, you have a sore throat.
Wait, I got a question. Like, have you ever? I mean, because I think one similarity I see with a lot of successful people, I mean, especially in the music industry, you got to have the balls to take the leap. You know what I'm saying, and really try to go for that.
Yeah.
Were you ever, because I know a lot of people in our community is kind of like this, did doubt ever come to your mind, or if it did you let it affect your pursuit of your music career?
So I actually worked a desk job for 5 years.
Cool.
While I was doing music behind the scenes. And my whole life was so simple and normal, and like, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job. Like, that's it. That's what you do. That's the only thing you do. There's no other, like art wasn't an option. Sports wasn't an option.
Yeah.
It was just...
It's funny. It's funny, too, because there's the funny joke that people take loans to go to school, and they go to school to get a job, and then they get the job to pay for the loans. Makes no fucking sense. It's really true, though.
Yeah.
The scary part is that's a really true analogy.
And I just had this moment in my life. Like I said, I kind of built things to a point where I was like, oh, I can just live off this art thing. Like right now, if I leave this job. And it was like one way or the other. And I broke everything that I'd been raised on, everything I thought I would ever do, just on this gut feeling, no, just go for it. Just give it a shot. I actually quit my job. I had this girlfriend for a long time. And we broke up, and then went over to South America on this trip with my friends. And when I was on this trip, I was like, damn, nothing I thought mattered in my small little world of where I grew up matters at all. Nobody here knows anything about me, cares about me, cares for anything back where I live. And I realized that my whole world, what I thought was my whole world, was this tiny, tiny, tiny little piece of the planet. And that there was so much more out there, that there was so much people better off, worse off, whatever. I was like, wow, everything that I thought was a big deal is so damn insignificant. And that's what gave me the confidence to just go for it. I was like,
interesting.
What does it matter, if I fail? What does it matter if it doesn't work? It's like, why not try? Why just sit in this thing that I know I can always go back to, that will always be there, because it will always be there, just being a cog in the wheel if I want to be,
it's a good podcast when I'm like mid podcast. I'm like, man, Jordan, you're taking over Cymatics. Drew can handle it. I'm just going to go travel the world, surf. Make music on the road.
You can do interviews on the world for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm out of the house, out of
Yeah,
Woodstock. I'm in this tiny little, I like that little bubble, but yeah, I definitely, I just got my passport for the first time. So I definitely haven't been, I haven't been outside of good old Georgia, down here with Alabama folks coming in. That's pretty much all
That was me. I came from Alabama last night.
Sweet, man. I think there's a lot of takeaways here for, people to think about more of their lifestyle, like, how to set up your fucking life to set up your life to make your music career successful. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, dude, they're not separate. It's like how you are to yourself and how you build yourself and how you take care of yourself will become the direct product of what comes out of you. It's like simple equation, It's like how I am, what I'm choosing to do, how I think, how I feel, where I put my energy in my life will directly impact anything that I create. Because that is the source of the creation, is me.
Yeah.
So you need to get that all in order. And then you'll have none of these problems that people always talk about. You'll have none of these writer's blocks. You'll have none of this, I'm just feeling, all out of sorts and I can't do anything. It's like you learn how to get around all of that. You learn how to, skip those weeks or months or years for some people of like, oh, I'm just a bit lost. Mm-hmm. You go and find out where you need to go,
Yeah. No, I think it's a huge takeaway. For the record, guys, you need to watch this episode like 4 times and just crank this into your brain because I think it's something people could take away. Just a transition. I want to talk a little bit about fucking some hit records, man. Because you've had some ones go off. You know what's funny is that I had a big period where I was listening to music, I would say, like when I was a producer for, years. And I was like, you guys were a big inspiration for us, especially in the early days and stuff. And then there was a period where, I went off, I kind of got in the business world a little bit. And then I got back in like Cymatics and we picked up speed. And then revisiting during that time period, getting into your music again, I was like, holy shit, you had some tracks pop off, And I'm like, damn, like keeping it going. Like I would say at like a scale for electronic music producers that they struggle with. Because EDM guys, they can't get numbers like the hip hop guys, or sometimes they can't get numbers like those other people. But you've kind of been like constantly having those bigger records. And what I want to talk about is the remix for Rufus Del Sol.
Nice.
That's gonna be sick because that thing was fucking nasty, bro. Yeah, I still listen to that song.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think one of the important things is I've never tried to go for numbers. I've never tried to go for radio. I've just only ever made something that I actually loved and that meant something. And that meant something to me. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm not playing the game. I'm just
doing your thing.
I'm just creating. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And usually if you mean it, it does work. And it might not work in the same way that something that's heavily marketed and heavily curated works. It's like, I remember I put out the Divide and Conquer EP. And at first, it didn't actually stream that well. But then I was doing shows all through Europe, through Australia, through America, through Asia. And every show was like selling out. I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, I put out this thing and I love it, but the numbers aren't like extravagant whatsoever. But then everybody is like chanting the riffs to the songs. Everybody is singing these weird little vocal bends and stuff that I've put in there. Mm-hmm. And I just realized, I was like, oh, I guess numbers aren't as important as people think they are. It's more about just making something that you love, and then people will find it and share it themselves,
Yeah.
And like the Rufus one was a perfect example. I heard that song, I think like on SoundCloud when SoundCloud was still a bit of a thing. And I was just like, whoa, I love this. And I like ripped it off SoundCloud. And then I just bootlegged it. And then it was just this idea. And I wasn't going to do anything with it. It was just like one of the hundreds, thousands of ideas I have on my computer, Mm-hmm. And then we had like a 2-hour Uber ride from San Diego to San Bernardino to do this festival on New Year's. And I was just going through all these exports that were in my computer of like just a bunch of random different ideas I was like going through to show to my managers. Like, oh, here's some stuff I've been working on. Mm-hmm. And then this Rufus Inner Bloom bootleg comes on. And everyone in the car was sort of like, grabbed each other like, yo, what is this? What is this? What is this? I'm like, just a thing. Like, no, you have to play this tonight. I'm like, I can't play this tonight. It's like, I wrote this sitting on a bed in like an hour. Like, it only went for a minute and a half. I'm like, no, you have to play it tonight. I'm like, all right. So I just like grabbed like one section, threw it on the end of the minute and a half I had, threw like a shaker percussion loop, and then just some tribally little drums, and then flew the kick and the snare over, and then just repeated the first bit.
Yeah.
On the end of that, like did a little build up or something. And I played it. And then it got, someone like ripped it on their iPhone, went up on YouTube. It started getting like tens of thousands of views in like the first day or two or something. And I know the Rufus guys. I've known them for years and years and years. We used to like all hang out in Sydney and go to each other's shows. And I was like, oh, can you send me the stems? Like, can we put this out or something? And then they sent me stems that I didn't even really use them. I still just had the session is like, it's just the master, and I swapped it out for the WAV because they gave me the WAV. And the only stem I used was like, I got part of the acapella and then bent it around a little bit in the second build up, and that's it. And the rest of it's like literally just the whole song with like my production on top.
Yeah. For those guys who don't know, first off, that record is fucking popping. It's big, really big track, and we're actually going to break it down probably.
Yeah.
As that's the one we're going to break down. How'd you do you want to talk a little bit about the drop? Because that's really where you spiced it up, because it's this epic long build up from the, from the original, and then you come in out of nowhere with the fucking heavy synths.
One of the cool things, one of the tricks to it was the drop is obviously like very crunched and compressed, but the build up comes down like a full 5 dB, which is almost half volume. So when that drop comes in, it doubles in volume.
Oh, you just purposely lowered it.
Yeah, but it's such a beautiful moment, and it's so simple, that breakdown. You don't notice that it's become quieter, and it slowly gets quieter and quieter and quieter. And then when the drop comes in, it just sounds massive. But it was like, I don't know, that I just used some drums that I really liked. The synth sound was cool. It was like I think it was actually like I think it was like a xylophone or a glockenspiel, but I took the attack off it and then put some erosion on so it had some white noise, and then just heavily saturated it. So it became this like hollow square wave kind of woof, woof, woof sort of sound instead of being like a donk.
Does that go off live?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I bet it does. Because I see that record, people probably go nuts.
And the drop was like, the intro to the song is this, it's called a Dilruba. It's like an Indian violin. Mm-hmm. And I made this little riff. And then the drop was like sort of a different voicing of the chords with a little melody, and dun 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 dun. And then the response is just the violin that I had at the start.
Yeah.
And I like that idea because I remember when I was making that, I was like, okay, cool. The drums are really big, but they're still organic. This synth is like kind of like in your face and harsh. And I remember when we were mixing it, the engineer I was working with like really cleaned it up, made it super wide, and like made it like really clean. I was like, you know what? I liked it when it was dirty, when it was super phasey and like crunchy and like in the wrong space. I ended up keeping that. But then I was like, okay, because it's like that, it needs to have something organic. And that was why I liked. The response wasn't another big EDM synth of sorts. It was like this beautiful little violin sound. And the violin acted as a counter melody, and then the lower part of the chords are still playing underneath.
Oh, yeah. No,
and also the rhythm switched up. I think the different percussion came in, and the kick drum pattern changed.
Yeah, I'm excited for that breakdown. I think people are gonna love it, dude. I can't wait I'm gonna get you Viper when we're done with it, that new project. But like, if you like working with like some of those organic sounds, like, dude, Drew has had. I'm telling you, everybody.
You've been telling me about this today.
Weird.
I've been like,
I'm gonna show you
get those packs,
dude. I'm gonna show you that because it's over 5,000. It's over 5,000 like recordings. It's like essentially like session recordings from every type of musician you could think of. Wow. I'm literally gonna bring you up the videos of the craziest, that guy with the donkey. It's literally a giant jawbone of a donkey, and I guess they find these carcasses out in the desert. So you can find one, they'll take the jaw and they'll turn into like a shaker. But that's the weird shit this dude was bringing, And then like, he was just a percussion guy. Like the harpist girl came in, did some like harps, and then like, imagine every type. It's like like I said, like an omnisphere almost, but in more of like a sample library form,
So tight.
Versus not having the rompler. I think we're gonna do the create something like a rompler of some sort at a certain point. But just from your production, you probably go off with it.
Yeah, I love playing with like different textures and sounds, particularly with like different cultures that aren't as commonly in music. Like I love Middle Eastern melodies, man. I got some records that I found, like world records and stuff, and they use it's like it's its own key. It's not Western keys. It's all different, and it's like I got this one thing. It's like a sheepskin bagpipe. It's just got this droning low note, and then these melodies over the top, and like it's just so beautiful and challenging.
Interesting. So you want to talk a little bit about your record "Ado"? Because that's easily my probably favorite. I've listened to that shit probably. I contribute to 10% of the streams on that track. I love that.
Like,
where's the vocal from?
It's Kimbra.
It's what?
Kimbra.
Who's that?
She's a.
Because it's just barely like a chop out of it, but
yeah. So that was a off-cut of Montreal, which was also a record on that EP. So I made Ado the day the EP had to be handed in. It was just like an off-cut version of Montreal. I was like, damn, this thing's kind of cool and wonky and nice. So I just like spruced it up a bit. And I loved the melody. The melody chop was like, she just did all these oohs and ahs, and I just chopped it into that melody. And then, just had these really nice wonky synths. It was like kind of mixed really badly, but in a good way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's also wrong, but just feels good.
Yeah.
I just put that together the day the EP was due, and that turned out to be the most streamed record, like by far, of that whole EP.
That's crazy. My only qualm is it's only like what, minute something?
It's like a minute and a half, but that's why you keep playing it.
Yeah, no.
You're like,
you motherfucker.
I want to hear that again.
I actually just saw earlier when we were talking about it, I was like YouTubing it, and there's like 2 hour, those 2 hour mixes or 4 hours of this one song that people listen to nowadays.
What, did someone do that to that song?
Oh yeah, someone did to that song. That's what's funny. Yeah, I was looking.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I was looking at it, and I thought that was kind of good.
That's so nice.
Yeah. Hey, Jordan, how are we running on time? Oh, dude, this is a saucy podcast, man.
Yeah.
This
oh my god, if they're playing the coughing drinking game, they're gonna be wilding.
Yeah. No, there's always something. There's always funny shit that goes down in the comments. Like sometimes there's like, so this isn't as bad, but if we had like Bonnie and Clyde, so there's like 4 of us, and there's just sometimes some funny interaction
I
that
love
gets.
those two. They're so great.
Yeah, no, they're awesome, and sometimes there's like funny interaction that's just caught, or something goofy. One time it was an episode that didn't make it, but it was hilarious because Drew's sitting back, he's like leaning back, and he's got this button up on, but at the end of the button up, it's unbuttoned in the last one, so like 20 minutes in his podcast, I finally look over. I'm like, bro, I got to stop real quick. I was like, your belly button's out. It was too funny. That one got scratched. We never released it, but funny shit happens behind the scenes. Especially when we smoke weed and then we get high, and I'm just like, okay, then I start talking way too much when I get fucking, a little ripped on the podcast. Dude, so have you, so with WhatSoNot, there was a moment where you were releasing under your just name, right?
Yeah, I was always doing that. I was always putting out music, like bootlegs and stuff. And then I did one EP just by myself. One of the songs actually did pretty well on that. I remember what was it? I remember Diplo did something with it that was really cool. Like he started doing something, and my song was one of the first songs he put in a list or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was also like really doing the legwork for WhatSoNot by myself for the better part of 3 years as well, even when it was still a duo. So it was like, it was hard to do both projects, particularly once I took it on by myself. I was like, well, there's no point doing this thing because this is WhatSoNot's all me now anyway. So like, I'm just going to do it all for that. And it was so exciting, like having like a rebirth and just being able to finally creatively just everything that I thought of and envisioned to do, and like I could like put money behind it. It's like we built that crazy, I don't know if you ever saw the Peacock Horse monster truck I built for Coachella.
No, I did not see that.
We toured America with and brought over to Australia, and it was like come up with these ideas, actually build it, actually put it on stage, and then it's all just happening. And like all the show visuals that we started building with this group Babe Cool in Australia. Mm-hmm. And it became like a world. Finally, it wasn't just like this project that had some songs that people liked on SoundCloud and the DJ set was fun. It was like this whole experience that you like walk into when you come to like a proper live show.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. Is there any, so what are some of your go-to plugins? What's some of your go-to plugins for just production in general? Like your top 3?
This is kind of generic, but You really can't go wrong with the power of serum. You have to be careful. Serum sounds like serum.
I know what you're saying.
So use it wisely. Like, use it for maybe your lead sound and maybe to get a bit of body and width. Like if you're detuning some soul waves or square waves or something, just to get some thickness. I love sound toys. I love waves. Simplanet is so great for the randomness. Another big one though, man, is like, I use Ableton. The stock in Ableton now is crazy. Like that echo, the drum bass, the wavetabling. Quiet Bison was just showing me the granulator packs. Like, this shit is unbelievable. I worked with William, or Tech Genesis he's called now. Have you heard of him? This guy from Australia, man, he's got this crazy album that's about to come out. It's so good. Like, one thing I realized, all these young producers, they don't have money. So they can't buy stuff. So they don't have all the fancy plugins. So they got freeware, and then they're just using the stock gear. And they're making the craziest shit with it, man.
Dude, there's so many good veteran producers out there.
And I'm just like, wow, you guys just like hacked the system. You're like, oh, I can't afford this thing, so I found this freeware thing that kind of sounds similar, a little grittier and grainier. And it's like, well, that's perfect. That's like a cool
sounds better sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you like, dude, the stock stuff in Ableton now is crazy. I love it. And like, once you build your knowledge of how everything works, you can have so much more control and kind of do what all that expensive stuff does, like just by yourself. You know?
Yeah. No, dope. Sweet. So I want to do two things. One, I have some interesting questions I want to ask you. Like, if you had $500, a laptop, and a set of 10 songs, what are you going to do the next 30 days?
If I had $500,
not yet. Because that's a saucy question. People like to hear. Because they're in that boat usually, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I want to ask you a couple more production questions, tips, and stuff. But I'm going to save that because we do a Spotify, SoundCloud, audio, like Apple only. Mm-hmm. So that means they go from YouTube and they got to go check the other platforms. Okay. But I want to end it with, or at least the YouTube version, with two different things. So the first thing is there anything upcoming you want the whole crowd to know about, or do anything? Like, where do you want the Cymatics audience to go after this?
Ooh. Where do they go?
Where are they going to go check out your music, shows?
I mean, check out the music. That's pretty quick and easy. Shows. I'm doing these really big shows in Australia New Year's. But then this is kind of the announcement of this, actually. I'm actually taking a whole lot of time off. I'm starting a new project with a friend. And I'm working on my next album.
Sick.
And I've got a new sound I found that I'm so excited about. And it's like the evolution of WhatSoNot. It's like in a new spot. And I spent the whole year experimenting with different ideas, trying a few different genres I'd never really dabbled in before, traveling around the world, going into like little 300 head venues with friends in local towns, like showing me some cool local dude and listening to what they're doing. And I've kind of got this new thing, and I'm so psyched on it. And I'm going to be putting that together, and then that is going to be starting to come out sometime next year.
Fuck yeah. So be on the lookout. Also, we are going to do a full music production workshop where he's going to be breaking down. It looks like we're going to do that Rufus Del Sol remix we're talking about.
Yeah, I think we'll do that one.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Also, like, dude, a lot of people could bootleg stuff easy, you know?
Yeah.
And I still think there's huge attention arbitrage. I know that some people are doing takedowns and stuff, but there's still a lot of labels that don't give a fuck if you remix their tracks or artists.
Honestly, as an artist, someone wants to bootleg my song, please go for it.
Yeah.
Like, do it.
Exactly.
Make something cool with it and send it to me.
Yeah.
I love when people I don't have the time to edit all my own songs. I will sometimes, but usually I just like to make a new song. So if someone gives new life to something I've made, I'm so thankful.
Do you like when you hear an old record that's just randomly like somebody made a banger remix out of it?
Yeah. Like all the time kids send me stuff they made. And I'm like, dude, thank you. This is so good. This is like the song I made, which I loved, which was like maybe a little softer. And you did this hyped up version that works perfect for DJ sets. Or at the very least, perfect for DJ sets in certain countries where I got to play a little harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Secret trick, guys. Post something on Instagram, probably tag You'd be surprised how many people see this just that they're tagged in.
We see it.
Yeah,
We
I
do
see
it.
my counts. Yeah, we got a lot of interaction, and
Or
you'll
someone
still
tells me about it. Or
Yeah.
like a friend starts playing. They're like, "You should check this out. This is tight." Dude.
or get your fans to tag as well. That works too.
Like last night, I was listening to the Tonight Essential Mix, and I was listening to it because a friend from Germany texted me. He's like, "Yo, they're playing some crazy remix of Beautiful on the Tonight," and I was like, "What, really?" And I get on there, and I'm like, "What is this? I don't even know who did this. Is this like Tonight
Yeah.
did this, or there's someone sent this to them?"
No, that's fucking fire.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. So we're gonna do that workshop. Go check them out, and then if you guys want to listen to the rest of this, we're gonna be asking a couple more saucy questions. One more thing. Almost fucking forgot. As always, we're doing a quick little giveaway. It's just something we do at the end of the episode. We're giving away 5 $100 Cymatics gift cards. All you got to do is comment your favorite moment of this podcast, and it would help us if you timestamp it. Yeah, we'd really appreciate that. We'd like to get feedback, seeing what you guys actually liked about the show, the types of questions you like, different moments that maybe we can get out of future episodes and stuff. Also, when you timestamp it, it helps us. We grab those clips for Instagram, and we get to go post them up pretty easy.
Fantastic.
Get the community to help out. But anyways, go check out the rest of this on Spotify, which starts